Imagine this: you wake up one morning, and something feels off. The sunlight streaming through your window seems too sharp, the hum of your refrigerator too mechanical. You glance at your phone, dozens of notifications, each one pulling you into a different world: news, social media, ads, messages. You scroll, tap, react, like you always do. But today, a thought flickers in the back of your mind: what if none of this is real? Not in the way you've been told. Not in the way you've accepted without question. You step outside, and the world moves in its usual rhythm: people rushing to work, faces buried in screens, voices murmuring about the same fears, the same desires, the same scripted anxieties. A billboard flashes an ad for a luxury car, promising happiness. A news headline screams crisis. A stranger walks past you, eyes glazed, mouthing along to a song only they can hear through their earbuds. And then it hits you: what if you've been sleepwalking? Not in the literal sense. You're awake, breathing, functioning. But what if the world you think you know is just a carefully constructed illusion? Not a simulation in the sci-fi sense, but a psychological and social matrix, an invisible web of beliefs, distractions, and systems designed to keep you docile, predictable, and just distracted enough to never question the deeper truth. Here's the unsettling paradox: you were born into a world that already had the rules written. Go to school. Get a job. Buy things. Chase status. Retire. Die. The path was laid out before you could even question it. And yet, something inside you has always whispered, there has to be more than this. But here's the real question, the one that will either haunt you or set you free: what if the act of questioning itself is the first step to waking up? Not by taking a red pill. Not by waiting for a messiah figure like Morpheus to reveal the truth to you. But by realizing that the door out of the matrix has always been unlocked. You just never tried turning the handle. Think about it: why do we accept that money equals value when it's just paper and numbers? Why do we crave validation from strangers on the internet, as if their likes hold some cosmic weight? Why do we fear nonconformity when history's greatest thinkers, artists, and rebels were all outsiders? The Matrix isn't a machine-run dystopia. It's the collective hypnosis of society, a system that rewards compliance and punishes curiosity. And the most terrifying part? Most people don't even know they're trapped. They mistake the walls of their cage for the boundaries of the world. They confuse comfort for freedom. They trade their deepest desires for the illusion of security. But not you. Not anymore. Because once you see the cracks in reality, once you notice the seams where the illusion frays, you can't unsee them. And that changes everything. So let me ask you, what if the life you're living isn't yours? What if the dreams you chase were planted in your mind by advertisers, influencers, and the silent pressure of normal? What if the fears that hold you back aren't real, just ghosts programmed into you to keep you in line? This isn't about conspiracy theories. It's about awakening to the subtle ways you've been conditioned, the beliefs you inherited, the desires you didn't choose, the life you never consciously consented to. And the most urgent question of all: if you're not who you've been told to be, then who are you really? The answer won't come from a pill. It won't come from a guru. It will come from one moment of brutal self-honesty, the moment you stop nodding along and start asking, why? Why do I believe what I believe? Why do I want what I want? Why have I accepted a life that feels like a rerun of someone else's story? That's where the rabbit hole begins. And if you're ready to go deeper, if you're willing to see just how far the illusion goes, then keep reading. Because the next question is even more dangerous. What happens when you stop playing the game? You feel it before you can name it, a quiet dissonance humming beneath the surface of your daily life. The job you tolerate, the relationships that drain you, the endless cycle of consume, distract, repeat. It gnaws at you in traffic jams and 3 a.m. wakefulness. Why does modern life feel like wearing someone else's skin? The answer lies in what philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre called bad faith, the act of lying to yourself to avoid the terrifying freedom of being truly awake. We pretend jobs define us. We let algorithms curate our desires. We trade the vast wilderness of human potential for the gilded cage of social approval. But this isn't accidental. It's by design. The invisible architects of your mind centuries before the Matrix, Plato warned of prisoners chained in a cave, mistaking shadows for reality. But today's chains are subtler, the education system. Factories producing obedient workers since the Industrial Revolution, as Noam Chomsky exposed, consumer capitalism, Edward Bernays' 1920s propaganda techniques rebranded as advertising, weaponizing your insecurities, digital dopamine, social media engineered like slot machines, as ex-Silicon Valley insiders confess. Carl Jung saw this coming. People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own souls. We'd rather binge Netflix than ask if we're living someone else's dream. The Stockholm Syndrome of civilization. Friedrich Nietzsche diagnosed the sickness 150 years ago. Immorality is the best lie. We've been taught, suffering is noble, so accept your burnout. Conformity is virtue, so suppress your weirdness. Productivity equals worth, so grind until you break. Psychologist Viktor Frankl, who survived Auschwitz, discovered an eerie truth: when we can't change our situation, we're forced to change ourselves. But modern society inverts this. We medicate, distract, and shop rather than confront the void. The spiritual malnutrition. Aldous Huxley predicted it in Brave New World. People will come to love their oppression. Why? Because we are fed synthetic purpose, career ladders, artificial intimacy, likes, followers, pacifying entertainment, endless scrolling. Buddhists call this Maya, the illusion that keeps us chasing phantom satisfaction. Neuroscientists confirm it. Our brains release more dopamine anticipating rewards than receiving them. We're addicts chasing the next hit in a system rigged to keep us hungry. The ultimate psychological trap. Here's where it gets sinister. Arthur Schopenhauer uncovered the core mechanism. Man can do what he wills, but he cannot will what he wills. Your very desires may not be yours. Consider the spotlight effect. You overestimate how much others judge you, so you self-censor. Normalcy bias. You assume the status quo is natural, so you don't question it. Learned helplessness. Repeated failure teaches you not to try, as Martin Seligman's dogs demonstrated. Worst of all, the Matrix's genius is making you think you chose the chains. You believe you want the 60-hour work week, the curated Instagram life, the numbing routine. Just as fish don't notice water, you don't see the bars of your cage. But something in you knows. That restlessness when you're alone with your thoughts. That existential itch when you ask, is this all there is? That's your authentic self, your inner Morpheus, trying to tear through the veil. Jung called it the shadow. Nietzsche called it the will to power. The ancients called it the divine spark. Whatever the name, it's the part of you that refuses to be tamed. And it's screaming at you to wake up. You don't notice the water until you're drowning. The Matrix doesn't announce itself with glitches or bullet time effects. It operates in the quiet erosion of your attention, the slow numbing of your instincts, the way you've forgotten what true freedom ever felt like. But make no mistake, the consequences are real. And they're carving away at your humanity in ways you've been trained not to see. The cognitive lobotomy, your brain is under siege. Studies in neurological plasticity reveal that the average attention span has dropped below that of a goldfish, 8 seconds, since the smartphone revolution. Heavy social media users show the same dopamine patterns as cocaine addicts. Harvard MIT studies, multitasking reduces IQ more than smoking weed. University of London, this isn't just distraction, it's consciousness colonization. Like the proverbial frog in boiling water, you've adapted to microamnesias. Where did the last hour go? Echo chamber logic. Why question beliefs when algorithms feed you confirming evidence? Digital dissociation. That eerie feeling of watching yourself scroll. Philosopher Byung-Chul Han calls this the burnout society. We are not oppressed by external forces, but by our own compulsion to consume, perform, and optimize until our psyches fracture. The emotional cataract, your ability to feel deeply, is atrophying. Consider, 75% of people now avoid uncomfortable thoughts by digital distraction. APA study. Tinder users show decreased ability to form real attachments. Stanford research. The rise of alexithymia, the inability to describe emotions, now affecting 1 in 10. This is how the matrix sustains itself, not through force, but through emotional malnutrition. You're fed synthetic outrage, rage-bait headlines, commodified nostalgia, endless reboots of your childhood, parasocial relationships, one-sided bonds with influencers. The result? A generation that mistakes stimulation for aliveness. The identity heist. Here's where it becomes existential. Your very sense of self is being hacked. The false self phenomenon. Psychoanalyst Donald Winnicott. The persona you create to please others slowly replaces who you really are, the looking glass self. Sociologist Charles Cooley. You internalize how others see you until the reflection becomes your prison. The quantified self trap. When your worth gets reduced to metrics, followers, credit scores, productivity stats. Neurologically, this manifests as imposter syndrome. Who am I really? Beneath the roles. Decision fatigue. Why can't I choose what I truly want? Chronic self-editing. Watch any Zoom call, people staring at their own faces, adjusting their personas in real time. The spiritual bankruptcy. The most devastating consequence is what theologian Paul Tillich called the anxiety of meaninglessness. 62% of millennials report existential numbness. Pew Research. Church attendance drops as crisis of meaning rises. American Psychological Association. Therapy clients increasingly present with void sickness, not depression, but a hollow ache where purpose should be. This isn't accidental. A system that profits from your consumption requires you to remain perpetually unfulfilled. The collective hypnosis. Now zoom out to societal consequences. The tyranny of convenience. Historian Tim Wu. Every frictionless app makes you more passive. The infinite scroll effect. Civilization's attention span now mirrors its doom-scrolling citizens. The metaverse of the mind. We're outsourcing imagination to corporate world builders. Disney, Netflix, Meta. French philosopher Guy Debord predicted this in 1967. In societies dominated by modern conditions of production, life is presented as an immense accumulation of spectacles. Everything directly lived has moved away into representation. Translation: you're living a life about life. The point of no return. Here's the chilling truth neuroscientists are uncovering. After age 25, the brain's cognitive flexibility sharply declines, unless deliberately exercised by midlife. Most people stop seeking new information that challenges their worldview. Confirmation bias. Fossilization. Retirement age. Adults show increased cognitive conservatism. Resistance to change even when beneficial. This suggests an uncomfortable reality. The matrix isn't just around you, it's being wired into your biology. The window for waking up narrows each year. You remain passive. But there's a crack in the system. a flaw the architects didn't account for. Because no matter how sophisticated the illusion, your body knows the truth. That tension in your shoulders isn't just stress, it's the weight of unlived potential. That Sunday night dread isn't just work anxiety, it's your soul protesting the forgery of your life. The Matrix's greatest weakness? Authentic human experience can't be fully simulated. The smell of rain on concrete. The electric touch of a lover's gaze. The way your heart pounds when you're truly creating rather than consuming. These are your breadcrumbs back to reality. And they're leading you somewhere dangerous. To the moment you'll have to choose, keep swallowing the blue pills of distraction. Or start seeing the code. The alarm is blaring inside you. You felt it, that electric jolt when a song, a sunset, or a stranger's laugh cuts through the fog. A primal whisper, this isn't all there is. But here's the secret the Matrix doesn't want you to know: you don't need to escape the system to break its spell. You need to rewire your perception of it. Step 1. Become a consciousness archaeologist. Your mind is a buried city of inherited beliefs. Start excavating the why drill, 5 layers deep. Why do I want a promotion? To earn more, why? Security, why? Fear of poverty, why? Childhood scarcity memory, bingo. This reveals your real motivations, often unexamined ghosts from the past. Media autopsy. Next time an ad gives you that feeling, freeze the frame. Ask, what void is this pretending to fill? What identity is this selling me? You'll start seeing the puppet strings. Step 2. Induce controlled reality glitches. Hack your senses to reveal the simulation seams. The 10-minute alien exercise. Walk through a supermarket pretending you're an anthropologist from Mars. Notice the ritualistic way humans circle discount bins. The zombie trance in the cereal are the religious devotion to brand logos. The Mandela effect. Hack keep a reality journal for 30 days. Note every time memories don't match facts. Was it Berenstein or Berenstein Bears? Predictions fail spectacularly. This trains your brain to spot inconsistencies in consensus reality. Step 3. Build your mental firewall. Upgrade your cognitive immune system. The information diet. Treat data like food. Would you gorge on deep-fried Twitter threads? 1 hour per day max on algorithmic feeds. Physical books as slow carbs for the mind. Weekly data fasting. No screens before noon. The bull detector. When hearing any claim, automatically ask, who benefits from me believing this? What would disprove it? Has this ever not been true? Step 4. Reclaim your attention, the ultimate currency. Attention is the crack cocaine of the digital age. Detox with the 3-second rule before clicking, swiping, and engaging. Pause. Ask, is this serving future me or dopamine me? Attention weightlifting. Daily sessions of 20 minutes reading philosophy, no skimming. 10 minutes observing a single object, a leaf, coffee cup. 5 minutes doing nothing, the hardest workout. Step 5. Initiate controlled reality breaches. Start bending the rules. The norm violation experiment. Do one socially unacceptable but harmless act daily. Sing in an elevator. Pay for coffee with $2 in pennies. Wear pajamas to the pharmacy. Notice how few people care, and how liberating that is. The Time Warp. Every Thursday at 3 p.m. Ask, what would past me think of current me? What would future me beg me to change? This reveals your true priorities versus manufactured ones. Step 6. Find your red pills. Without swallowing them, certain experiences trigger irreversible awareness. Psychedelics, responsibly. Clinical studies show even single doses can dissolve lifelong depression in hours. Shatter fixed personality traits. Induce mystical experiences indistinguishable from spiritual awakenings. Extreme states. Float tanks. Holotropic breathing. or even just sleeping in a forest alone, stargazing in the desert. 72-hour digital detox. Step 7. Build your Zion. Before you need it, the Matrix fights back when you wake up. Prepare. The 3-person rule. Find at least 3 people who see through the illusions, won't gaslight you back to sleep, can sit in uncomfortable truths without reaching for distractions. The exit ladder. Maintain 6 months living expenses, escape fuel, skills that can't be automated, your real superpower, a freedom compass, list of what truly matters when all else is stripped away. The critical insight. Rebellion isn't about rage against machines, it's about becoming ungovernable at the soul level. When you define success on your terms, derive worth from being rather than producing, find ecstasy in existence itself, the system's hooks can't catch. You become like water, no purchase for control. But this is just the beginning. Because beyond rebellion lies the most dangerous truth of all. There is no spoon. The phrase from the Matrix was never just a clever visual effect, it was the final clue hiding in plain sight. The ultimate truth is this: you were never trapped in the Matrix. You are the Matrix. And so is everyone else. The grand illusion collapses. Every spiritual tradition whispers the same secret in different languages. Advaita Vedanta, Tattvam ACI, you are that. Sufism, wherever you turn, there is the face of God. Quantum physics, observer and observed cannot be separated. The red pill or blue pill dichotomy was always a false choice. The real awakening comes when you realize there is only one consciousness experiencing itself through infinite perspectives, and right now, it's wearing your skin. The holographic paradox. Consider these irrefutable glitches in reality. The Mandela effect, collective false memories proving perception shapes facts, synchronicities, meaningful coincidences that defy statistical probability, placebo power. Patients improving from sugar pills because belief alters biology. These aren't anomalies, they're breadcrumbs. Evidence that what we call reality is a negotiated hallucination. The God-player dilemma. Here's what the ancient texts and modern science agree on. You are simultaneously the dreamer and the dreamed, the prisoner and the warden, the character and the author. This explains why meditation can rewire your brain in weeks. Harvard MRI studies, psychedelics dissolve the self, yet reveal profound unity. Near-death experiencers consistently report becoming everything. The cosmic punchline. The Matrix's greatest trick wasn't making you believe the illusion was real, it was making you believe you were separate from it. When you grasp that, your enemies are just other aspects of consciousness playing roles. Your suffering comes from resisting your own script. Even the desire to escape is part of the game. The whole charade becomes adorable rather than oppressive. The liberating horror. This realization brings equal parts ecstasy and terror. Freedom, nothing matters, in the most glorious way. Responsibility, you're co-creating everything, even what you hate. Irony, seeking enlightenment prevents enlightenment. Zen masters call this the gateless gate, the paradox that you were already free, but had to journey to discover it. How to live in the truth. The playfulness protocol. Approach life like an actor who knows they're on stage, fully committed yet never identified the witness position. When suffering arises, ask, who is aware of this pain? The answer dissolves it. The infinite mirror. See strangers as yourself in different costumes. Try it with people you dislike. Watch what happens. The final invitation at the edge of understanding. Words fail. But if you're ready, try this now. Look at your hands. Realize something is looking through these eyes. Ask, what was my face before my parents were born? Zen koan. That silent knowing before the answer? That's you. That's always been you. Not the avatar. Not the story. Not the Matrix. The isness beneath it all. Now the real question remains, how will you play the game now that you know it's a game? Will you or resent the illusion? Ignore it and go back to sleep? Or most radical of all, love the characters so deeply you forget again? The choice was always yours. It always will be. Welcome to the desert of the Real.